Hello, let's talk a little bit about what seems so difficult to change in our life, what seems so complicated, so out of reach for ourselves. There are things that we feel are not for us. It's not me. Some people can do it, but it's not. It's not me. I feel that's too difficult. I feel it's impossible for me. A lot of things that basically we feel. Um, First of all, a lot of the things that we really want, that has real value in our life, are there. We don't reach them because we feel that's too difficult. We feel powerless about it. Uh, but first, it's important to realize that if we spend so much time in our life trying to reach a certain happiness, and it seems it's never there, it's maybe because we're not looking at the right place. And the thing is, the right place is somewhere we don't dare to look, somewhere that feels too difficult. It's always the same thing. When there is something that has value, at some point, you reach a kind of wall. It's just too difficult, and you try to find another way. The problem is that what you want is there, and at a certain moment you reach it, and so you're looking another way, but it's still there what you're looking for. And why are you stopping there? Why are we all stopping at certain moments, even though we are at the place we want? It's because it's fearful. We feel, either we don't deserve it, either or we're ashamed of doing something, of, taking this role or taking action. It's just like we haven't been allowed to do it, maybe not allowed to do it, or a lot of things. Or if I do that, there are so many things in our mind that we have been conditioned to believe that we can't. It's allowed, it's not allowed. It's if I do that, how others are going to look at myself. A lot of things, and that's fearful. And all of that is based on feelings, on emotions. But that's where we want to go. That's exactly the place we want to go. And our wealth is there. If we are able to go beyond this wall, then we can do everything in our life, everything we want. There's simple exercise that comes back very often in all kind of self-development. It's what would you do if in your life you could do whatever you want? You wouldn't have any risk at all. No risk. You can do whatever you want. No emotional risk, no financial risk, nothing. You can do whatever you want. What would you do? And write everything that you have in mind, anything, And you're going to realize that you could do a lot of things if only you could reach, you could go beyond this wall. Because most of the time the limit is not financial or external. Basically, even if we have everything we want from the outside, we'll reach a point where there is a wall. So how to do when we reach this wall, and can we really change something, even if I feel that's not for me? Yes, obviously. First of all, it's important to realize that a baby has no wall, has not this kind of limit. We've been conditioned through our education, through our experiences, no matter what, we've been conditioned. I mean, all that has been ingrained in our mind. But it's not ourself, we are all different. Yes, some persons are going to be more shy than others, but why? There are experiences behind that. There are, it's not ourselves. It's because we are fearful of something, because we believe something, because we have a view of ourselves, an image of ourselves, of the world, We feel danger because of our past experiences. So all that is not real. All that is just emotions that come back and that are not based on reality. Just to realize that if this is so, obviously we can change it. If this has been built in my head at some time, doesn't really matter for what reason, when, why. It means that just it has been built at some point in my mind, probably very young. Doesn't really matter. But that's not me. That's not the reality. So I can change that, obviously. How to do that? Now, the first thing which is really important is to realize that if I don't change anything, it's because I feel it feels so difficult, fearful to go where I have those emotions and to try to, play with them or do something at this place. It feels so difficult that we prefer avoid that. And as we avoid that, nothing changes. Even worse, as we avoid that, we confirm that this place is fearful, that it's not for us, that it's too difficult, that it's unreachable, that I can't overcome that. And so we continue to feed these emotions, by acting as if that was the reality. And we continue to feed them. And that's very important to realize that by avoiding them, we are acting as if they're real and we are feeding them. Okay? So that make them more and more real. So we have to confront them, but not to dive into fears or difficult emotions or something. It's not going to solve anything at all. So how do we handle this situation? We have to step back, look at the situation without the emotion, without the feelings. The problem is that every time we look at this situation, we think of that, we talk about that, we try to take action in this situation, we have the emotions that come, and that changes everything. Okay? And there's not a lot of things we can do at this moment. Or at least it's much more difficult. So how do we separate the emotions from what is the actual reality? First, it's very easy to talk about them without the emotions. Just talk about the situation, to describe it, to describe what's happening, why we think it's happening, what is the image we have, what is the vision we have of what's happening with our emotions, what is the difference between what we feel and what is the reality. We can talk about all that, describe it, be very precise, like really examine it, okay? And in order not to have the emotions that come with them, we have to talk about that as if it was not me. Talk about this situation as if it was someone else. I can talk about that as if it's me, but I know that I'm just going to describe it mentally, only mentally. It's just a mental picture I'm doing. When I say mental, it's just very I'm just describing it with words. That's it. I'm not in it, as if it was just someone else. That's it. I'm just going to put words on the situation, to describe it with words. And by doing that and just staying focused on just the word, just the facts, even the facts of what I'm feeling, but just, words. It's easy to do that. We can do that. Talk about it just to myself or to someone else. I want to describe the situation. This is what I'm living with, this is what I feel, and so on. But it's just words. I can write it to describe all the situation. Okay. And that first step is actually very important, because probably that is going to be the first time I'm going to dive into the situation without the emotions. It's something we never do, because we have the emotions rising when we talk about the situation, when we think about it, and we avoid it, and so we have never shed some light on the whole situation um, all our presence, you know, being able to really look at the details of what's happening, what's real, what's not real, what are the emotions, what is the reality, you know, and we never do that. And so in our mind, it stays confused. It remains confused because we have both the reality, the real facts, and the emotions that are melded together, and that stays our memories, our vision of the world, because we have never took the time to say, okay, that's the reality, those are my emotions, those are different things, you know, just because we are in the emotion.